It left the link. Woohoo! We're going live. There we are. Oh man. Wow. What a aberrant challenge that was, guys. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome, creatives, community, kind folks, collegiates, and classmates out there. Thank you so much for being patient. We're starting a little bit later than we normally do, due to some strange and odd challenges. Maybe because of this week's theme, as we talk about aberrants and mind flayers and elder gods and Cthulhuoid creatures and all those kind of things this week. So yesterday, we were having some trouble with YouTube. The sound went out, so I apologize. But yesterday, Monster Monday, we did talk about some of the motivations for your aberrant creatures, your alien mindset and strange anatomy style creatures. And we also talked about the idea that, in many ways, we really, at least in the beginning, we don't need to necessarily have a a defined motivation for some of their actions. And of course, we talked about like body horror and all kinds of things. Of course, we love to go off the rails a little bit, but we're going to continue this conversation about using aberrant labeled creatures, or taking other creatures and just putting that label on them and reskinning them and using them in our game. So today, Discord Tuesday, we're going to hit on a number of different fronts today. Essentially, it's like a grab bag. We'll talk about players and DM options, and of course, my favorite, the third pillar of it. We're going to talk about exploration and how to introduce them in the game, especially at lower levels, and how do we wrap up maybe a campaign involving them as well. So let's continue this a little bit off of Tuesday, Monday, since it shortened a little bit. So using these creatures in many ways involves coming up with a reason why they are involved in a game, and whether it's they've come from the deep oceans or far realms or what have you, stepped through a portal, or whatever reason you have for your game. Maybe they've been there for tens or thousands or hundreds of thousands of years, and they've come out of stasis. Whatever the reason is, they now exist in your world. And of course, we talked about other aberrant creatures. The big main two are your mind flayers, your illithids, and then the other side of that coin are like beholders and such. Classically in Dungeons and Dragons lore, they don't get along, but for your game and your setting, you can do whatever you want. Of course, saying whether they are in servitude to beholders or in servitude to mind flayers. Beholders could be the lieutenants, the captains, the kind of middle ground overlords to the mind flayers as well, whatnot. Excuse me. But that being said, we can also reskin some of our creatures to make them a little lower level things, and adding just a little bit of horror and using horror elements and body horror attached to that can really start to bring across to your player characters that this is something that is horrific. It's odd. It is something that we really don't want to touch or even look into. And what a great way, of course, when it comes to using Cthulhuoid creatures and thinking of elder gods. And of course, you got to have a lot of tentacle horror in there as well. There's also madness. Madness was a major part of the stories involving these beings from other realms or from the deep sea and such. And so being able to flip your book open and start to incorporate some of those madness traits, and having, maybe couple of wisdom saves here and there, just to impart to your player characters that yes, you will be walking into rooms where there are people hung up on hooks and their internal organs are hanging out, or you will be peering into the bottomless, infinite voids of space, and as these creatures enter into this world, and it will drive you insane. So adding a couple of those things in there, some challenges there where you may have some physical challenges, such as you guys know me, reskinning some traps or obstacles or layers, as well as having some mental challenges, overcoming madness and confusion and despair and depression and that kind of thing. Unscripted and Unchained says, I find that anytime I want to use outer worldly aberrations, you need to have an insanity mechanic, i.e. Call of Cthulhu, of course. And now, this is a little plug for myself here. We at Critical Hit came up with a despair mechanic. It's not as harsh as the short-term and long-term madness mechanic that you find in is it the Player's Handbook or Dungeon Master's Guide? Anyway, it's not as harsh as that. It actually runs in parity to physical exhaustion, except it's mental exhaustion. But in many ways, you could incorporate some kind of mechanic similar to that, because thank you very much. And it runs up in parity to that simply because, like physical exhaustion, many of us suffer mental exhaustion all the time, working long hours, not getting enough to eat, not getting enough sleep, being stressed out, being worried about an upcoming meeting or public speaking, or being somewhere at the right place at the right time, or juggling a lot of important duties amongst different people that are unconnected, and you're trying to maintain that. And of course, in Dungeons and Dragons, yeah, GMing, hell yeah. How am I going to incorporate all their background elements into one game, and they're expecting this the next game? Those are the kind of things that stress all of us out. But yeah, we wanted to make a mechanic that was very fluid, meaning that you might be stressed out, but really what you need is a long rest or a short rest where you just get to sit down and talk with everyone and whatnot, just similar to exhaustion. But moving on beyond that, yes, absolutely having a madness mechanic. And I would contend that you could reflavor or reskin in a very simple manner some outward elements, some obstacles in your world as your players investigate your world and navigate through these encounters, to not just make them physical but mental obstacles as well. Meaning that instead of athletics checks, dex saves, constitution saves to resist poisons or climb things or dodge out of the way of things, using your mind to comprehend what you're witnessing, really horrendous scenes of body horror and murder and such could very much be a mental obstacle. Maybe using wisdom or intelligence to look at things in a logical and dispassionate manner instead of looking at it as an emotional manner, which might overcome the PCs. Using charisma to maybe encounter something that in order to bypass it, you must talk to it, confront it, almost like being confronted with the own horrors in your own mind, and being able to challenge those very subtle, I don't want to say phobias, but fears that someone may have in the back of their mind. All right, so we have some of that, but we also want to, another part of using aberrants in the game really goes hand in hand with investigation, which is why Call of Cthulhu and all of its iterations of the Cthulhu games involve investigation, finding out why it is that they're doing what they're doing and where they are. And yes, you could have, or maybe at the end result of your campaign, to have these invasive horrors just come from the night sky or through wormholes or awaken out of the deep seas and invade the world with hundreds of thousands of them. But that might be the end result of what you're imagining in the world, where your world is literally taken over, much like there's a game setting called Thule, and I can't remember the adjectives attached to it. But anyway, it was a Kickstarter, and it was a 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons where the Cthulhuoid style creatures already exist in the world. They've already taken over. They already have invaded many things. And again, in the world, you could reskin many, if not all, of the player options, character options, and NPCs to incorporate some of the elements of the Cthulhuoid mythos and make them in the game. For example, yesterday we brought up using sorcerers, and maybe sorcerers only come about because of a strange, sickly, oily skinned insectoid thing that sticks on the back of your neck and inserts its tentacles, under the skin or into the ears of the individual, or maybe some kind of octopoid-like creature adheres to the top of the head, and that's what gives them their abilities. There may be maybe your clerics. You only have 5 options for clerics, and every one of them is bizarre and strange. More bizarre and strange and horrific than the last one, meaning you might have, like, I don't know, you could have Cthulhu as being one of the elder gods that your clerics or warlocks go to. There might be something like a Jubilex type of, I believe it's Jubilex type of creature that's just an ooze, like a gibbering mouther, which is nothing but eyes and mouths, screaming in horror. Or maybe there's another godling that's nothing but a human being flayed open, eternally, and only communicates through screaming and pain or something, so on and so forth, right? Unscripted and Unchained says, this will encourage players to have a more whole view of their character. Wisdom and charisma won't be the dump attributes. I am a huge proponent of having challenges that run the gambit of the entire character sheet, the entire game, letting other characters have other characters move into the spotlight when others fall into the background, right? Boffrin put some, is it Primeval Thule 5th edition? Yeah, that's in the Discord chat. For those who don't know, Fantasy Grounds College has a Discord. Please join there. And if you'd like to join in with the chat and listen in through audio, you may do so. Just go to the left, slide down to the boiler room, and that's where we're all hanging out. Yeah. Oh, very good. Thank you, Dead Man. Yes, I as a matter of fact, I do have it on Primeval Thule on PDF. Thank you. So, but having Unscripted Unchallenged mentioned the fact that having charisma, wisdom and charisma won't be the dump attributes. I'm absolutely a proponent for that, because much like we often talk about on this channel, much like a trap, a dex save to dodge out of the way of the pit trap or suffer damage, every single attribute of the character sheet has the ability to be used as make a blank check, a save, a charisma save versus a constitution save, a strength, save versus a wisdom save. And then the end result of that could be any number of things. It could be a physical, it could be a mental hindrance, it could be any number of conditions, from paralysis to exhaustion to blindness to incapacitation or being stunned. And Nunya for the FGC Discord. Yes, for those who are familiar with the channel but not familiar with the broadcasts, we simulcast both live on YouTube and the Discord, and simulcast on YouTube and Discord, and that Discord is through Fantasy Grounds College. Yes, so if you are familiar with Discord, you can join your Discord, go over to Fantasy Grounds College, and slide down to the bottom. Now, the moving on to many of these challenges and such, the idea may be of, this sounds strange because we talked about this with mysteries. Sometimes you may not have to have reasons why something causes madness. And what I mean is, this may just be a side effect of the growing horror that is happening within your world. So for example, if these creatures are coming from the deep ocean and they have infiltrated a small village or a town, or the PCs must find out where the wizard's cabal has gone, and there's some kind of growth growing on the outside of the wizard's tower. When they enter into this tower, there may be things that their mind cannot comprehend. And by foreshadowing these events, having people suffer from madness, having wild animals acting out in a manner which has been foretold in, for thousands of years that this event would happen. Maybe there's an astrological event that happens, the red comet, an eclipse, falling stars, the alignment of the stars and moon, or what have you. Those things may also foretell what's coming along, and that way you're able to use a far more organic method to warn your player characters, like, hey, you're going to be challenged on all fronts here, not just your physical ones. And again, I've always mentioned this: if the only method of success is doing damage, then the only people who are going to succeed are the damage dealers. If there are no other ways to solve the situation, then those people who want to use creative methods to circumvent challenges in the world, they're going to be the ones that are going to fall away to the side, despite the fact that in many ways we understand that in role-playing games, you got a huge chunk of combat and very thin slices of social interaction, and almost none for the exploration pillar of gaming. So if we want to support some of those things, we need to be, as game masters and dungeon masters, we need to be a little bit more flexible. All right, so player character options. Again, using this creeping horror thing, not only could we reflavor some player options to have more of this horrific background, if you want it to be that invasive into your world, where, who knows, barbarians in your world might not be classic Conan styled barbarians. They might be suffering from major forms of insanity in your world, and that's where their rage comes from. It comes from the unlocking of the doors of madness or something. Rangers might be set upon the world to hunt down these things and try to free the world of these creatures. So you can do those kind of things, but along with that, there may be some elements that you want to add into your game. For example, using some creatures, like we thought of the idea of reskinning sturges. It's those bat-winged mosquitoes that Dead Man said yesterday. Bat-winged mosquitoes might literally be reskinned as single eyeballed things with a venomous tail or something on it, or a stinger, and they float around being the eyes and ears of these overlords floating around these villages and towns, in the dead of night. You could have something akin to the Hellraiser movies, where they recruit mortal beings and humanoids into their charges and then gift them with abilities that that are both pain and pleasure. And maybe they have these pain and pleasure palaces, and the common people, in order for them to, the only option for them to escape out of their miserable lives is to give of themselves to these these dark rectories or something, whatnot. A Pelora, Mike Gould, what's up, man? Mike Gould says, have the prophecy built into a common children's rhyme. Having that echo as the players unlock secrets is creepy as hell. There's nothing more creepy than those the children singing and dancing on the front lawn of Freddy Krueger. Of course, done a little bit, having that little discordant note to it and doing it in slow motion. It's like, oh, 1, 2, he's coming for you. Yeah, absolutely. I can't. That is very, very, very creepy, especially considering that most nursery rhymes were pretty creepy in the first place. So it's not much of a leap to have a nursery rhyme related to the emergence of Yog Sothoth or something like that, or the Migos, or I can't remember much more of their names. And as a matter of fact, the Cthulhu mythos is actually open license. It is much like Frankenstein's monster and Dracula. They are free for people to use in the public forums, although you cannot. There was a musical called Shoggoth on the Roof. You don't want one of those on your roof at all. Well, Pelora says, if you're trying to build up to an elder god sort of thing, you're going to have problems if you've trained your players that combat and damage are what matter. Absolutely, because what ends up happening is you're being very, very stereotypical here, right? But your barbarian and paladin are going to go up front, right? They're like, oh, I can deal lots of damage, and they're going to fight things and kill things, and then you put some more things for them to fight and kill, and then the bard and maybe sorcerer and cleric are sitting in the background going, well, maybe we should try another method. And if we don't offer other methods to circumvent what's going on, those people will never fall into the spotlight. Also, a session 0 might be, and this has to do with the draw towards Call of Cthulhu and any other post-apocalyptic setting, right? Call of Cthulhu, in many ways, is a post-apocalyptic setting that doesn't know it is yet. And that session 0 is to have a talk to say, hey, listen, maybe in this setting, you'll never win. Right? In a zombie apocalypse setting, the main characters don't win against the entire zombie apocalypse. They don't wipe it out. It's surviving. It's the Mad Maxes of the world, the Road Warriors and the Fury Roads don't cure the world. It's surviving the next day. And so having that talk with your players to say, hey, listen, there will be an invasion, or there's already been an invasion, and it's going to come. I'm letting you know, and I want you to understand that there's no way to stop it. What your purpose will be is to survive yet another day, to take humanity on a trip to find these little small enclaves, and you stitch them back together, and that will be your purpose. Thanks, Tesla Ranger. Tesla Ranger says, sounds like a good tagline for a movie. The world has ended. It just doesn't know it yet. You got to have that. In a world that's dead but doesn't know it yet. You have to have that guy talk. Although I believe he's passed away. Pelora continues to say, horror relies on feelings of weakness. If you can stand and swing away at Cthulhu, it's just not going to be scary. Absolutely. Which sometimes brings into to me that, like the classic Tarrasque is a fine creature, but doesn't do it for me, because it just reminds me of something that really shouldn't be defeatable. It should be like a force of nature, Oh man. Mike Gould says, changing the origin or reskinning displacer beasts. They already have tentacles. Heck yeah. Hey, who's to say that this was an old video, and someone said, who's to say that there has only ever been one displacer beast, and all the other displacer beasts are set out of time and space, and they've never fit in the world, and they have always been both in service to and making other things serve it. Like they exist for the purpose of existing. And blink dogs, there's only ever been one blink dog, and that blink dog has been having puppies and giving birth to itself over and over again to set the time space continuum right. I love that. Now, Barford says I would disagree with Cthulhu being based on a post-apocalyptic setting. It's a pre-apocalypse or doomed world setting. I would be down with a post-apocalyptic Call of Cthulhu game, Mad Max versus the Mythos. Yeah, no, I didn't say that it was. Like I said, it's Call of Cthulhu is post-apocalyptic. It just doesn't know it yet, right? It's the players knowing that something from another world is about to be here, and it's just fighting against the inevitable, right? Because it's not whether you survive in Call of Cthulhu, it's whether you survive longer than everybody else, right? It's trying to stave off the inevitable. And I was just being sarcastic, dude. Michael says, we did a 5-year campaign back in the 90s around stopping an elder god. You couldn't fight him. His touch would convert you to him. You had to find and destroy the keystones to his portal, or escape, find a way out or off planet, which may be another, it might be the only way to escape what's the coming horror, if that's what you want to do. Although we are flowing a little bit into World Building Wednesday, but again, that might be the option. You're so right, Balford. We're Call of Cthulhu. We're being blind and deaf for advantages. Hell yeah, hell yeah. What is that? The Necronomicon? I need a pencil to poke my mind's eye out, right? Exactly. So, okay, so we have ourselves these insidious creatures, and let's get down to brass tacks. Oh, yeah, Bird Box, Bird Box, and A Quiet Place, and I'm going to even add into it After Earth, the poorly made Will Smith movie, right? Sure, we might not. We might not like the movies and their execution, but we can steal some things from those. If we want to incorporate some strange and bizarre creatures, very much like adding in xenomorphs into our world. One of the great things about like the movie Bird Box, where for those who don't know, yes, I'm going to give away spoilers. If you haven't seen it now, you're probably not going to check it out. Although it's a very, very original premise, the idea behind Bird Box is that something has entered into the airspace of modern day. And if you look at it, if you see it, you see something so horrific that it is built off of the horrors and the guilt in your mind, and you go crazy, and it will cause you to want to commit suicide, unless you've already gone down the path of madness yourself, in which case, when you see it, you become an acolyte, an advocate for this thing. And when you see it, you want to make other people see it. So yeah. Unscripted and Unchained RPG review says Bird Box was definitely a Cthulhu-esque movie, definitely. And what a great way to reskin, say, a Medusa or basilisk styled creature, right? So instead of it turning you to stone, it turns you to madness, right? It turns you into pure madness, where you just go crazy. It might be just a crazy thing. Hey, Vince, what's going on? Rickard says orbs or red, or orbs of Orbs of red, orbs of green, all will serve the sleeping queen. Mist so white, words so keen, all will serve the sleeping queen. All will hear the call of sleep. The queen will rise, the world will weep. Oh, I love that. Did you just make that up? Tell me you just made that up. Because you get a slow clap for that one. I love that. Oh man. Seriously? Oh, dude. That is wow. That is sweet. Let me do something here. I'm gonna copy this. Let's see, copy that. I'm gonna throw it down into the chat here as well. And there we go. Sorry. Oh, I spelled your name wrong. So got a little distracted. I thought that was just sweet. Should be orbs of red, orbs of green. Yeah. Oh, we get it, dude. Now, talking about Pitch Black, the other movies, Pitch Black, After Earth, the xenomorphs kind of fit into this, where A Quiet Place, where the creatures think and act in a manner in which we're not used to. For example, in Bird Box, they were going to show you an image of the creature, and because they did some designs, they realized that it would be better if we never allow anyone to actually see the creature. So in Bird Box, they never show you a visual of the creature because each person saw a different horror. And in Bird Box, no one was actually physically assaulted by the creature at all. But in something like in Pitch Black and in A Quiet Place, these creatures they almost had like a radar, like a sonar. And if you remained quiet or if you could hide yourself, in After Earth, those creatures were drawn to people's pheromones, their fear pheromones. And the more scared you were of them, the more they could smell you. It was almost like a beacon that would come for you, and they would horribly ravage your body and hang your body from trees and that kind of thing. And of course, the more people they killed, the more horrifying it would be. The more fear you had, the easier it was for them to track you and find you. So could you imagine in a game where there may be, let's take Displacer Beast, right? And the Displacer Beast are these black, midnight skinned, eight-limbed cats, 6 legs and some tentacles on their shoulders, but they have no eyes. And maybe there's dozens of them or even hundreds of them. And they can literally walk up to player characters, and there's so many of them that they literally will sniff you out and like rub against your body, waiting for just that one person to have a drop of sweat just pour down their head in a sign of fear, right? And, imagine navigating your way through, a pit of these kinds of creatures, or a major metropolitan town where everyone's locked away and these things patrol the night areas, and the PCs are out there in the open, locked away from being able to find shelter, and they literally have to walk through these creatures. I think that would be a great scene, and something I think you could do for anything. I definitely agree with you, Mike, that Rickard's little poem there, little nursery rhyme was sweet. I like that, especially considering that you just kind of like made it up on the fly. I love that. Invasion of the Body Snatchers and The Thing is a great thing to pull from, especially Invasion of the Body Snatchers and The Thing very much reminds us of the classic mimics, doppelgangers, the body horror aspects of it. And again, I love reskinning something. Who's to say that you can't reskin an ooze or gibbering mouth or a black pudding or a gelatinous? It doesn't have to be a cube. That in your world, in your game, that these are people who are walking around as normal human beings, but when they're found out that they are loyal to these elder gods, that their bodies don't burst from the inside out and then become this thousand-mouthed thing that flows over the bodies of people and stuff and cause great horror. Yes, Mike brings up loss of agency as horror is also another thing, which you have to really be careful about. A loss of agency means like someone who's hypnotized or paralyzed or turned to stone or is stunned or falls unconscious. It can be a little bit disheartening for a player character to lose control of their PC, even for a short amount of times. So you want to be cognizant of the mind control insanity mechanic. If the players are not able to then find a method to fight it off or resist it. Sleep paralysis. Yeah. Vince says, I did write a poem in English a while ago, but it does not fit the mood, sadly. I don't know. You could turn some pretty bright and sunny poems into something pretty dark and insidious. Unscripted and Unchained says, in Pitch Black, the creatures were like trying to overcome an elemental thing of nature. You can't beat it, but you can either die or escape. Much of that, of course, is maybe surviving the night. It could be that there's a horde of these creatures that maybe goes into a dormant state when the sun rises, or is brought about due to maybe a sound or a scent or smell, or a certain ritual brings about these creatures. And it could be that it's not necessarily surviving killing them all. It could just be surviving for a certain amount of time, or getting from the PCs need to get to the MacGuffin, and these things are in the way, and it could just be figuring out a way to navigate in and around them, given a specific time limit. When they lay dormant. So it might be running from place to place and the dormancy ends and then they become active again, much like in Pitch Black. In Pitch Black, when the multiple suns would descend on the horizon, these creatures would come out of the ground, and there would be, hundreds of thousands of them, millions of them maybe, that would blanket the planet. And so that might be something as well, that a celestial event happens, and when the PCs look up in the sky, they could predict the dormancy, and the dormancy might only be 5-minute increments, 1 hour increments or something, and they must go pass through the desert and go through the jungle or go over the mountain range, or it might just be go from one section of a city to the other section of a city before they become active again, and search for the guilt and madness and horror that's resting in the human mind. Now, another thing could be that our own fears could come true and could be brought about by these creatures. So, for example, if someone has a fear of fire, it could be that maybe the player character is haunted by fire elementals, and when they fail in something, or they're overcome with their own fears, they have a fear of burning up, that literally a fire elemental just appears near them and starts to burn its way towards the PC. And that in itself might be its own horror, especially if the only person that can see it and fight it is the PC. And so the other player characters only see them burning, but no one else sees the fire or walks through it, and they're just standing there in the fire like, dude, are you all right? And all they see is their friend breathing out puffs of smoke and their skin boiling. That'd be kind of nasty itself. Michael says, so the only survivors are psychopaths. Nasty but true. Possibly. Oh man. Vince says, I personally find creatures creepy that have human body parts. A giant worm that has human teeth, or anything with a baby head. But I'm with you with that, Vince. Body horror to me is pretty nasty. Deadman posts in the Discord chat the link to Shoggoth for Wikipedia. And for those who don't know, or not very familiar with like the Cthulhu mythos, someone like me, many of those creatures are undefined in many ways. The descriptors used to describe what they look like sometimes can be a little contradictory as well, considering that the descriptors are through the either through ancient texts or through the eyes of people who can't quite look at these creatures full on without going insane. So that gives you plenty of space to rename, repurpose, reuse, uh, um, reskin any and all of the Cthulhu creatures. And of course, you can definitely get online and find a Cthulhu name generator if you want. Let me see if I can find one. Uh, Yep, I think type one in, find a Cthulhu name generator, and I'll even post a link in the Discord for it and see what we come up with. See if it'll show anything here. Bam. Now, getting back to the chat. Hmm. Pelorus says Thumans from Numenera are creepy. Creepy, creepy AF. They're not supposed to be. They just are. Yeah. So it's the uncanny valley idea, right? It's not human, but something has a human element to it. It's why there's so many creatures in mythology that have human faces or human hands or the body of humans and something else attached to it. Harpies, manticores, centaurs, satyrs. What are some other? Anyway, there's a host of them that have like a human naga or another one that have some kind of weird humanoid element to them that's pretty nasty. Unscripted and Unchained says the invasion of the body snatchers is also a post-apocalyptic sci-fi horror. The world of humankind is over, especially how it ends, right? Where the main character looks around and realizes that literally everyone has been taken over. Their bodies have been replaced. And what a great way to incorporate NPCs and then twist your NPCs and find out that that's not really them. And what if the PCs are surrounded by body snatched NPCs that are hoping to convert them, and the PCs have to like they realize that they might be the last free-minded people in the world. Michael says illusions as horror mechanic. Perfect. I could agree with that. I could see illusions bringing about horrific things. Maybe illusions in your world, illusionists, excuse me, in your world are tied to madness. So the only true illusionists are the ones who have lost their minds. If you want to start reskinning some of the player character options, that there's always a hint of madness for them. Fighters are ones who've or barbarians are the ones who have not just picked up the blade, but have fully embraced their bloodlust or something like that. I mean, there could be so many. Pelora, it'd be nice. Just Google Welsh names close enough. Oh, it'd be nice. Vince says, Silicon Road, I am walking on metallic sand, looking at a mirror in my hand, my ears vibrating from the roar, screaming louder than the shore, coming from an unknown distant land, shouting, yelling to the very end. Is this real? Is it not? Does it matter? Very odd reflections from afar, real or an avatar. Do you see? Is it me? Spinning thoughts, throwing them, seeing if I can find a gem upon what is thrown back, looking under all the dreck, hoping to find someone who would see the sun. So I run, so I forget that the Silicon Road. Stop seeing the obvious code, hoping to find my mind. I'm taken aback by that, sir. I am taken aback. And Alwyn, you guys, wow. You Jeez, you guys definitely have to check out the Discord. Please do so. Go to the Discord and check out what's posted by Alwyn there. Definitely Pelor, be nice. Bad Pelor. Mike Gould says Yanti or Yuanti or Yanti make for a great horror basis: sacrifice, cannibalism, or loved ones being converted to snake-like slaves. And of course, ooh, you guys. Yeah, I know you are. Your avatar in your avatar, your namesake in the Discord is not the same. So I didn't want to throw people off by that. Ooh, Shadow Shine, Silicon Road. Wow, Vince, that's sweet. Wow. Okay, I'm going to get really distracted here. My first English poem. Ooh, it's not. It wasn't translated from German. I'm kind of surprised at you there, sir. Sweet, but guys, there is something. Oh, okay. There's something special about the origins and the hints of. Yeah, poems are hard to translate. I could see that. That poems and mythology and such, and having those hints of much of great art has a hint of madness to it. We've heard of artists struggling and sacrificing themselves for their art, and that in itself could be a manner in which you can embrace some of the madness in the world and foreshadow the telling of these creatures coming into the world. And it might be kind of what, like Mike Gould says, that the only survivors are the psychopaths, right? Again, we are not trying to, disrespect those who are suffering from some minor to major form of mental illness in today. What we're doing is we're taking a fictional world, and using that fiction to tell something that's strange and otherworldly. And by doing that, we can, imagine having the local hobo who is speaking these weird rhymes and such, or meeting an NPC who's normally very put together, but all of a sudden the PCs come back to town and this person has let their fingernails grow 6 inches, and they have a scraggly beard with gnats flying around their body, and they haven't bathed in the years since they've seen this person. And this person is speaking in rhymes and riddles, and the PCs are trying to decipher them. And maybe there's little clues in uncovering where or how this madness is spreading. And very much so before the PCs, air quotes, fight Cthulhu and try to kill Cthulhu with their swords, as the creatures like the Yuan-Ti are in your world, or before the PCs even see them, much like leaving a nasty, oily trail from a slug, or leaving bodies behind from a serial killer, there could be madness left behind as the PCs follow the path of madness till they get to where they're at. So maybe lower level PCs fight madmen and crazy things and reskinned. Who's to say that a serial killer isn't just reskinned bugbears or something, or an ogre or whatnot? The town drunk is now a madman, is killing people, and you've just given it the statistics of an ogre because the madness has made this person supernaturally strong and tough, or that someone hasn't given of themselves to the elder gods, and the PCs go to slice their sword through the person who is wearing the white pure robes and drinks the fluid, the black fluid of the elder god, and doesn't turn into chest burst and turns into a black pudding. Or they go to cut the priestess's arm off, and her arm grows back and it's grotesque, and you've just reskinned the main priestess as a troll, let's say. I love reskinning and renaming and reusing things. The head of the triumvirate of the cult might be a naga or something of that nature, right? Just reskinning and reusing some of the things that you already have, and of course, using something like a virtual tabletop fantasy grounds as well. You can go in and just with a few points and clicks rename and repurpose some of your own creatures so that you could make um, mind flayer lieutenants and mind flayer warriors and I don't know, the children of the mind flayers or something. Like, you could do mind flayer acolytes, people that have been injected with a strange tadpole or something, embryo, living inside of the brains of their hosts and whatnot, giving them supernatural toughness or strength or what have you. Descripted Unchained says, you just described the hobo prophet. Yeah, exactly. Rickard says, almost better to rewrite the poem in spirit than translating them in different languages. Vince says, I got tons of German poems, though. I tried translating them, but often they do not even rhyme. Yeah, that's your major issue, right? The translation doesn't translate, especially when your verb, noun, pronoun kind of altered based on your language and such. That can be a little bit off-putting. Mike Gould says, I have horror elements coming up for my players. Hunters from hell who are coming for my tiefling player, using Pinhead as inspiration. Ooh, either reskinning or inventing fiends that terrify players. Yeah, I believe there's chained demons, kind of based on the Hellraiser series. And again, you could have humans or humanity fiends reskinned as humanity who have given themselves over to this madness, and they have been embraced by these otherworldly creatures, so that it's one of these things where the NPCs have given themselves to it, but if the PCs do it, they understand that they will lose complete control of themselves and that they become NPCs, right? And maybe in your world, a wizard who loses control might become something else, where, instead of red skin and a pitchfork and flames, maybe you've reskinned it as flayed open skin and blades and discordant songs sung by, instead of musical instruments, they're torturing people whose screams are done to the beat of a strange discordant song or whatever. Vince says, a one-to-one translation of poems is almost never pleasant to read. Yeah. Mike Gould goes on to say, The Bound, a take on the chain devil that's mummified in chains and moves about like Dr. Octopus. Ooh, that sounds sweet. I could imagine them seemingly floating through the air because the chains are lifting them up in the sky. And someone posted another poem in the Discord. Wait, let's see. Dead Man pasted into the Discord the from the Roll20 compendium, Roll20.net compendium, the Chain Devil for 5th edition. It isn't 5th edition. Okay. Yeah, the Chained Devil is definitely taken from that intellectual property, with that, changing things here and there. And who's to say that why stop there, right? Like Michael saying, the twisted man whose body is broken and twisted at every joint. He attacks through reflective surfaces like mirrors, glass, and puddles. Ooh, what a great way to redo a shadow demon where the PCs aren't attacked. Maybe they don't see it directly, but they see it through mirrors, and maybe they have to break the mirrors or else it can reach in and grab the PCs. And if a PC is grabbed and snatched through the mirror, it's a reskin of being say paralyzed or turned to stone or something. One of the PCs is trapped inside of a mirror, banging against it with their voices like trying, it's always muffled. It's like, help me, I can't get out, and other player characters are like, if we break the mirror, we can't get our ally back out of the mirror or something. Or maybe the PCs have to jump into the mirror to fight the twisted man to come back out of it. And instead of using their strength and dex and con, they're using their intelligence, wisdom, and charisma respectively. Maybe that'd be kind of sweet. Unscripted Unchained RPG review says, have to run, great stream as usual. By the way, Unscripted and Unchained, I understand you can't post a link, but you can definitely post a link in the Discord if you are there, or if you hear this before leaving, in the Discord to your channel. So please do that if you have the opportunity. Mike Gould says, Scream Queen, whose actual mouth is covered, but every time she's cut, a mouth forms from the wound and screams. Madness. Ooh, I like. See, I hate body horror. Oh my God, I hate body horror. Mouths and eyes should be where mouths and eyes should be. But I love the idea of again, you could reskin a. There are plenty of creatures that if you touch it or cut it or approach it, it causes damage to you, right? Why not reskin it as when you cut or damage or approach this creature, that instead of burning or being hit by acid, it causes like psychic damage. It causes madness. Maybe instead of making a save, there's a save of fear or something, man, ow. Her eyes are mouths. See, okay, that's no. That creeps me out so much. I love it. It like runs like a cold, just like a coldness up my spine when I imagine those kind of things. God. Pelor says, my worst for body horror is the jaw ripping thing. That's just no. I have to agree with you. It's having. And the thing is, like what Mike Gould is saying about where her eyes are mouths, it's like, it's not even like a shark's teeth. It's like human mouths where they shouldn't be, on like the palms of the hands, or where the eyes should be, or like you said, split open wounds, and a big human mouth where your stomach is, like, and it talks and everything. It's God. Oh man. Dead Man the Storyteller says, there was a demon in the Conan the Destroyer movie that could only be harmed by slashing the mirrors. Again, what a great way to have an alternate win method, right? So the barbarian and paladin go up front to fight the creature, but they're holding it off. And then maybe the other characters are not doing, air quotes, damage to the creature, but they are just as effective in fighting it by maybe breaking the mirrors that reflect its own madness. Or maybe each mirror houses an innocent human being, but in our physical world, it reflects the madness that is inside of them, that these looking upon the face of these Cthulhuid creatures brought these creatures of madness into this world. And so maybe there needs to be a juxtaposition, right? We have to bring the mortals back to our world, thereby bringing the creatures of madness back into the mirrored world kind of thing. Man, what a great way to do it. Maybe plunging the room into complete darkness solves the situation. And maybe the evil fiends, by plunging the room into darkness, the creatures may slide across the calves and the backs and chests of the PCs, but they actually don't react to them. And so the PCs may have to navigate in complete darkness to feel their way around to something, while the creatures cannot look upon the faces of the PCs to pull out their madness. It's almost like the little kids thing. If I cover my eyes, you can't see me, right? That may be a truism for these creatures. If I just close my eyes and ignore their screams, if I ignore the dark poems that they're speaking into my ear, that maybe Vince posted the German version of um, uh, the a German poem. Of course, I cannot read it. I do not know German, but maybe there's some of you, Pelora asked from the post the German uh, in the chat. But again, maybe there are alternate methods, much like the creatures in After Earth, much like the xenomorphs and Bird Box and A Quiet Place and uh, um, Pitch Black. Um, it's strange, but giving some of these your extra creatures. Oh, okay. Oh, you posted a translation earlier. I didn't know that was literally the translation. I thought it was something different. But again, strange to say, but making a creature blind and having it only operate by scent or sound or fear makes these creatures somewhat more horrible. In A Quiet Place, those were horrible creatures, but what made them even more horrible was the fact that everyone had to be completely quiet because it was almost like their entire brain was one big, sound, one big eardrum, and it listened for. I'm surprised it couldn't hear their heartbeats, but maybe they could. But again, maybe distracting the creatures by making a louder noise somewhere else, i.e., thunder wave or an illusion of sound causes them to run, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, guys, we've hit the hour mark. We're past the hour mark. Sorry about the hesitation in getting us started. I'm a Luddite. I'm a little bit of an old and crotchety person. So yeah. Michael says Underdark monsters are often themed that way. Morlocks, hook horrors. Mike, we have a whole series on the Underdark where we talk about reskinning creatures by either removing their eyes completely, having them be just blind with eyes, or being short-sighted, like having very bad vision, and then using different types of sensory things other than dark vision or tremor sense, such as thermal vision, sonar, of course, tremor sense, heightened smell. Um, my brain is stopping on that. I'm going to upload those. They eventually, all of these episodes will be uploaded to SoundCloud for a podcast version of it, just like yesterday's is uploaded today. They're not going to be uploaded in any particular order, but they will be uploaded. So again, we've hit the hour mark. Thank you so much for anyone and everyone and everyone who is like, who is this dude talking on this YouTube channel and why? There is some information detailed below the video as to who I am, what I do, the greater people that bring this channel together, all of the brilliant people who are here. Please, thank you very much, and please participate in any way you can. I usually don't do very many calls to action, like the likes, shares, subscribes, and notifications and such. But if you really want to be live, take part of these and become live, hit the notification button. Thanks, Mike. He says, as always, thank you, DBJ. Very much. Thank you very much, Pelora. Thank you so much there, young lady. Thank you very much, as always. Everyone, take care. Have a great day. I will see thee tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, my time. And we go live. And also, if you wish to just listen in, and it's better for you to listen in on Discord, if that's your preferable service, you can do that. And we have older episodes on SoundCloud. Listen below. Everyone. Anyway, everyone, take care. Have a great one. And I will see thee later. Bye. All right.